Hi there, thank you so much for joining me for this video. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Dr. Doe Buckley, and it is my absolute pleasure to welcome you to this online summer edition of Cognitive Psychology. So in this video, I'm just going to introduce myself. Those of you who know me are aware that I love talking about myself. It's my favorite pastime. Like I said, my name is Doe Buckley, and yes, it's Doe like a deer, D-O-E. So you are free to call me Dr. Buckley, Dr. Doe, or just by my first name if you would prefer. I'm not one of those people who is super picky about titles or anything like that. So again, welcome. So let's see, what interesting things can I tell you about myself? Well, I have been teaching undergraduate psychology courses for about 10 years, and 6 of those years have been spent at Mercer. So I absolutely love Mercer. I love the beautiful campus, and I love how compassionate and community and civic minded Mercer students are. I love how curious they are. I love how active they are in very important pursuits like community engagement and political engagement and all kinds of things. So I really, really appreciate the compassion that you guys show and the interest that you show in important world matters. I've been so impressed for my entire career so far at Mercer in the caliber of students that we have. And I genuinely enjoy getting to know each and every one of you. So prior to coming to Mercer, I did my graduate work in cognitive psychology at UCLA in Southern California. Um, and prior to graduate school, I went to a very small liberal arts college exclusively for women called Sweetbriar College, and that was in Lynchburg, Virginia. And prior to that, I grew up in Yorktown, Virginia, which is just on the coast of Virginia. And I also spent quite a bit of time as a child in San Diego, California. So those are kind of my stomping grounds, if you like. And yeah, most of my family is military, so we were a Navy family, and many of my relatives are still in that service today. So that's kind of my background. Um, Again, so my training was in cognitive psychology, which is basically psychological scientists who study the mind. And my particular interest is in optimizing learning and memory. So what sort of strategies can both students and instructors use to optimize learning or to make learning more effective and more efficient? I've also focused on how forgetting can be adaptive. So most people assume because I study memory that I look into like amnesia or Alzheimer's, but I actually look at kind of the natural lapses in memory that we all experience, and my work has shown that that can actually be helpful. So forgetting some stuff, provided it's not really relevant to you anymore, can actually make it easier for you to remember things that are relevant. All right. So that's kind of my background. I've taught a lot of different courses at Mercer. I've taught intro. I've taught, of course, my core course, which is cognitive. I've taught many sections of Research Methods and Statistics 1, which is this course. I've also taught History and Systems and INT 101 in an Introduction to Disability Studies course. And I have a lot of experience teaching online as well. So I've taught both cognitive and sports psychology online in the summer. As hopefully you saw in my email and the announcements that you've received, because of my status as a disabled person and some pretty significant health complications that I have, it's not currently safe for me to teach face to face. So I will be teaching all of my courses online this summer. But as I assured you, I do have a lot of experience and I'm certainly willing to and excited to learn along with you as we go on this unexpected journey together. All right, so the more interesting stuff that you guys might be interested in is growing up. Before I even conceived of the idea of being in academia or being a professor or studying psychology, I really wanted to be a country music singer. So from the time I was like 6 years old all the way up through high school, I really, really wanted to be a country music singer. And this was before the days of, Taylor Swift and Luke Bryan and all those people. So I predominantly listened to like Faith Hill and Garth Brooks and those kinds of folks who are, maybe not as, you guys might not be as familiar with them. And so I was very excited about that, and I attempted to learn three different instruments. So I attempted to learn guitar and mandolin and a really cool instrument called the mountain dulcimer. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that. It's a bluegrass kind of Appalachian instrument. And I also took voice lessons for many, many years. But the interesting part of this factoid, if you will, is that I was really, really awful. Like, it was almost impressive how bad I was at all four of those things. And yet I persisted. And for much of my life, I genuinely believed that I would be doing those things, right? So why on earth do I share this kind of embarrassing uh, story about myself or fact about myself with my students? Well, one of the reasons that I do is because I know that a lot of you come into college thinking that you know exactly what you want to do, right? So some of you might want to major in engineering or look into going to medical school or look into becoming the owner of the next, Fortune 500 company. And I know that a lot of you end up doing those things, right? We have some really impressive students at Mercer. Um, but sometimes your plans can change a little bit, right? Sometimes once you've taken enough classes, you realize that maybe who you thought you were going to be isn't quite where you end up. So I just want to share with you that my path in life and my eventual realization of this career was not my intention at first, and that's okay, right? We all have individual talents that we can nurture, and kind of we're all on a sort of a journey to find out who we are, and that's particularly the case in college. So if you find out that's the case with you, consider it just a normal part of life that you can embrace and not something to be ashamed of, right? Okay, the next interesting to me anyway, factoid is that I'm pretty obsessed with 90s sitcoms. And my favorite by far is Seinfeld. If you've ever watched, or your parents more likely have ever watched Seinfeld. Um, and I have watched them so many times over the past 25 years or so that I can now quote every single episode from memory. And what's particularly striking about that is I would say, as a cognitive psychologist, that it's not enough to just expose yourself to information. You have to actually do something with it, right? So you have to study it kind of actively and do different techniques to make it stick. But in my case, all I had to do was watch them repeatedly for many, many years, and now they are permanently sealed in my long-term memory. So obviously, that was time well spent, right? Um, so the last little factoid is just I know that you probably hear this a lot, and it's almost cliche, but I really do love to teach, right? Whether I'm teaching on campus or I'm teaching from my house in my living room, I'm really, really invested in teaching, and it really means a lot to me. And I always, always hope and really strive for every single student in my class to have a wonderful experience. And like I said, we're on this journey together. We'll learn from each other, we'll adapt, and I'm very, very excited that you're here. All right, so my last slide is a slide that I made featuring my dog, Marley. So why on earth would I show you a slide with a bunch of pictures of my dog? Well, truth be told, she's very needy and will likely show up in some of my videos, wanting me to pet her, wanting to jump on my lap, wanting to walk on my keyboard, whatever. So I figured because it's inevitable, I might as well introduce her. So my dog Marley, I got her when I was in graduate school in 2014, and she is a Maltese poodle. And I actually trained her to be a service dog. So because of the kind of acute respiratory issues that I have, I trained her to either retrieve my medication and bring them to me, or she jumps on my lap, sits on my chest, and I can access medications that she has clipped to her. She's actually retired now, so she's not a working dog anymore, but she still has retained all of her special skills, so to speak. Um, and because I was in graduate school when I got Marley, I decided that she also needed to get her PhD. So she has her doctorate in canine psychology, and her research interests include cuddling, sniffing, scratching, chasing squirrels, and constantly demanding my attention slash affection, right? So I'm sure you guys will see her in various videos, and she is also looking forward to meeting you. All right. So this concludes my first welcome video. Like I said, I'm so happy that you're here, and I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful experience in this course, and I hope you have a terrific first week of classes.